Hi YouTube, welcome to Pagan Perspective. This is Megan, aka Spiritually. Today is Friday, and today we're talking all about holidays. So I think that the previous host did a good job in talking about some of the details, and I thought about how I would take this question. So the question comes from Yucca and basically asks us what are our thoughts on the parallels between Christian religions, celebrations and holidays and pagan religions holidays, right? So the examples were like Samhain and Halloween, right? And just sort of those kind of how do those things like winter solstice and Christmas, right? Like what are the parallels between them, kind of thing, right? So what I thought was, I'm like, okay, well, I could go down the road of just saying, all right, well, there's certain traditions like the tree and, eggs at Easter and things like that, right? Which I don't use eggs, but the symbolism is important, right? So I think when I thought about it, I'm like, you know what, this isn't, I think people have heard this before. Like, I feel like I've said this before. So I wanted to really go a little deeper into this question. And so what I wanted to talk about was the universality of celebration. Like, what is a holiday? Why do we have them? Now, you could certainly go sort of the anthropological archaeologist type way, and you can say, well, it's to mark, the harvest, the crop coming in. To mark the seasons. It's to mark moon cycles. It's to, coming of age, things like that, right? And yes, those are all true. Absolutely. 100%. Those are true. However, they're also bigger than that, right? So when I look at them, they are all ways to mark time. They're all ways to mark time, our time in this life. They are all ways to take a moment out of the mundane, right? So that it stands out in our memory. So I like to make the analogy that that our brains are like computers, right? And that like when we sleep, we download data because we take in so much more data on a daily basis than we need, and that we're even consciously aware of. And our brains are constantly looking for information that might be useful. And then as we sleep, it goes, oh, that wasn't, I guess we don't need that anymore. Like, I was just saving it just in case. Now I don't need it anymore. And so we kind of clear the cache, if you would, when we sleep, and that's our way of kind of taking into long-term memory the things that are really important, right? And so celebrations are our conscious way of making sure that that moment in time gets put into long-term storage, long-term memory storage, right? And so, we like to mark that time with things that are enjoyable to us, right? There's a universality to the human experience, right? We all feel emotions, right? Like that's sort of a universality to the human experience. There's always going to be exceptions to some of these rules. However, when I'm speaking, in as much of a majority as I can, or I'm trying to make sure that I encompass as much as I can. I'm not going to succeed in that in everything I say, though. So please know that I know there are exceptions to these things. However, there are universalities to certain things, baseline of comfort, right? We seek as a species comfort, right? We don't go purposefully to try and make ourselves feel uncomfortable. You see even a baby will kind of move themselves around until they're in a comfy spot, right? And we share this with other animals as well. Other animals seek comfort. There's a beautiful photo that's one of my favorites of a gorilla holding a leaf above their head when it's raining, right? And they're outside. They're not under cover or anything like that. They're in a cave. It's not like that leaf is doing that much. However, it's keeping the raindrops from coming down right on the face, which can feel uncomfortable, right? And so it's that tiny little bit of seeking comfort. And so, as a species, we do that. And as a species, we also seek to enjoy ourselves, right? And so one of the ways that human beings enjoy ourselves are talking to each other, right? Enjoying each other's company, that social behavior. We are essentially at our core social beings, right? The universality, obviously, not all of us are, but the human species, right, is very social, and we also seek good food, right? We like to eat when we are in groups of people. It's universality. You see this across cultures through their celebrations, right? Their holidays, whether it's Christian or pagan or any number, of different religions and different small tribes and into the past. Food is a way that we join together, right, and celebrate. And so these are universalities that I think are really important. And so we're marking this time. We're saying that this time is somehow important. And there's also another part to it, and that is the lead up. I mean, I know for me, when I'm planning and prepping for a holiday, sometimes it can be just as fun as the actual holiday. And in some cases, actually more fun, because sometimes when you get the family together, somebody brings up something they shouldn't, and oh my goodness, it turns into a mess, right? And then everyone gets mad at each other and all that. However, the prep for it was really fun, and I'm not saying that every holiday goes that way. There's plenty of good holidays. It's just that the prep for it, the anticipation, right, can sometimes be just as good, if not better in cases, than the actual event itself. And, we all do this, whether or not we're, somebody's prepping for Christmas, or they're prepping for, a Sabbath, or they're prepping for Hanukkah, or they're prepping for Ramadan, or they're prepping for solstice or Samhain, right? Or Halloween. Like, if we're going secular, it's all of these things require prep time. And prep time equals anticipation, the build up, something that gets you excited. One of the most exciting parts of a roller coaster for me is climbing to the top, right? Because you're like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Like, oh boy, it's going to, like, oh, that anticipation, it just builds up inside you and you get excited about it, and that moment is equally, in my mind, important to the celebration itself, right? So that's sort of where I see a lot of the parallels. For me, it's in our markage of time, our anticipation, our planning for the event, all the things we do to get ready. And, I look at all the commonalities that we have, and it hurts sometimes that we get so divided on so many other things. And I know that that's natural in many ways. It's still just such a bummer, and I will say I get frustrated, in December. I get really frustrated because, Christianity and sort of American secularism, which is, Christianity light, I guess, which is basically they celebrate Christian holidays without the religious nature, right? They celebrate the traditions, right? Which, so many of them have been borrowed from other places, right? And I just feel like because that's the majority, Christmas music gets played on the radio, the decorations, right? It's you feel lost when you're not part of that majority, and it can be sad. And and that's kind of sort of a bummer, and so you have to kind of make your own traditions, which can be fun and, creates opportunities to be creative. It just still sometimes would be great to hear some pagan music on the radio, some Hanukkah music on the radio, some, different types of things played. Maybe have, all right, here's music from all sorts of holidays, because, December is a time in which many holidays are celebrated, right? So, and it just, I think there's so many things that we could all nitpick and find problem with. In the end of the day, though, I very much am a warrior and a champion for social justice and for what I feel is right. And sometimes I also need to kind of crawl in my hole and not deal with people. I think we all do that sometimes. And I really hope that that's sort of what we take away from this is that there's a human experience in celebration, and that there's always going to be parallels because, we're all human, and we all want to mark our time with something that brings us joy, right? And whether or not it ends up bringing us joy, due to whatever drama might happen during that celebration, the goal of it was usually to have a good time. So, I feel like let's just mark our time, let's celebrate, and let's just try to love each other. I mean, really, I think that's the biggest message that I think I want to get out today is let's just love each other. Um, I I just am hoping that we just find a way to all make it through this crazy ride that we are all on. And so let's just be good to each other. Be good to each other. What's the Bill and Ted's be awesome to each other, right? And just love each other. Just love each other, and yeah. So that's it for today, guys. I know it was kind of rambly, and sort of my thoughts on it in a weird place today. So, but yeah, so that's it. And I hope you all are having a wonderful day, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Spread love. Do something to love yourself this weekend. That would be, if I could assign you homework, do something that you love, right? Or that spreads love outside of yourself this weekend. However big or small, doesn't matter. Just share the love to yourself and to everybody else. Okay. Well, I hope you all have a phenomenal week, and blessed be, and aloha.